What's up, guys? So on today's episode, I'm gonna be doing a whole lot of bouncing around, doing a few things here, a few things there. One of the more important things that I need to do is I think I'm gonna put the body back on because I need to check clearances with some things, see how everything's gonna fit. So that's gonna be on the agenda, but let's just get to it. Okay, so I'm starting to mess with the cooling system. So this is all the shit you get. There's like all these random hoses, a bunch of random bolts. Got these big pipes, the insulation, radiator shroud, some more pipes, some more hose, and then a whole box of clamps. There's also like fans and a reservoir and stuff, but I don't need those right now. So I think the first thing is I really need to figure out where the radiator exactly needs to mount, how to mount the shroud, and then figure out how in the hell these coolant pipes are supposed to go back there, because I have literally no idea. Okay, so I showed you guys this before, but I'm gonna go over it again. But basically, they got these like cutouts, and I don't really know, like some of them don't make any sense. I don't know why that's there. This one I think makes sense because the radiator neck is kind of right here, and I think it needs to get cut out. And then this side, they already had it cut out on the bottom, so it's gonna clear there. I don't really understand what this is about, but I do know that these holes need drilled out because it has two threaded sections on the top of the radiator. Yeah, let me show you those. So here on the top of the radiator, you can see it's got these threaded sections there. There's that radiator neck that needs to go through. And then on the bottom of it, it's got these little pegs, which I'm assuming, you know, that's how you're gonna mount it, but I don't really understand how. They didn't send me anything to like mount it, so I don't know if I just need to drill holes in the fiberglass or, I don't know. I think the first thing is I need to cut the shroud open so I can figure out how high it needs to sit or whatever, and then go from there. Okay, so you can see I cut this section out, I cut these out, so now that actually fits into there. And now that it's sitting where it needs to be, this is actually sitting up a little bit. It won't go all the way down, which to me means that, yes, I do need to drill holes in here, and that's probably what they wanted you to do, is index it in the fiberglass, and then it just bolts up here, and then I'm assuming just do rib nuts, you know, drill these holes out, do rib nuts, put those down. But I think what I want to do is I'm going to take the radiator out, leave the shroud in, and then I want to set the hood on to make sure that I won't be too far forward or something. I want to make sure that I got tons of room to work with here. So let's do that. Okay, so currently it's sitting on the radiator shroud pretty hard, which kind of makes sense because I don't have the hinges in here. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to grab the hinges, put those on there, maybe not, you know, not bolt into this, but at least like mock them up onto here so that I know how much distance there is between here. And then I think I'm gonna grab the windshield frame, put the dash in and all that stuff, so I know approximately where the hood's gonna sit. I mean, obviously if I had the body work on, it'd be even better, but that'll give me somewhat of an idea. Okay, so it's kind of sitting on there at the moment. So here's the hinges. Yeah, that's a long ways off. So clearly this needs to go down. So I don't know what is gonna need trimmed, whether it's this shroud or the hood. I don't know, feel like the shroud would make the most sense, but yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that. But while I was looking for parts and I was trying to find these hinges because I couldn't find them, I made an amazing discovery, you guys. Look what I found. Didn't even know I had these. They sent me rear coilovers for this to match the front, and I bought these freaking eBay things as a temporary thing. Had no idea that I had some good ones the whole time. Literally all I'm gonna have to do, it looks like, is throw the top hats on there, and I can throw them bitches in there. That is fucking awesome. Okay, so I started to swap these around. I found that, so it came with this little guy that was like this little spacer here. This doesn't work with this, so I was gonna try the one that came with the max speeding rods crap. It didn't fit, so I tried grinding it down. It does fit now, and then this does go in there. However, these bushings don't fit in this the best, so I think at this point, I'm just gonna say screw all that crap. I'm just gonna buy some factory mounts, because it looks like that's what it's meant to be with. I'll use the factory mounts with those bushings and just do it the way it's supposed to be done, rather than trying to use this stuff. Plus, then I can just resell these because I have the whole set. So, yeah, let's do that. Okay, it's been a few days. Now I got the factory hats. It seems like these bushings definitely fit in there better. This still, I don't know, doesn't really index into anything really well. I don't know if it's because I need the rubber things here. Probably not, though. I wouldn't think so. So I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter too much because I'll have tension on it anyway, but it just kind of bothers me. It's going to move around a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't make any noise, but let's throw these together. And there we go. Got them on there. Hell yeah, they look good. Now I'm just kind of wondering, I noticed not only are the rears like this, but the fronts are like this too. They both have these little air fittings, so I'm wondering if they need to be filled with nitrogen or if they already are. I don't know, because there's no instructions. So I may have to ask the company if they were pre-filled with nitrogen or if I gotta do it. I have no idea. So I finally got a tap for this hole that I talked about before that was all jacked up. And then I had to use it, I got a tap and a die. I didn't have the right size bolt, and I went to a hardware store and you can't even get one that's the right length, so I cut it down, ran a die over it, and it's good. Put that one in there, so I'm gonna run a tap through here, throw that bolt in. Okay, so I got that back in there. I'll admit, the threads they're not the best, but I think she'll work, and if it backs itself out, throw some Loctite on it later. So the next thing that I kind of want to tackle is I've got a couple different things. One is the seat. I have decided that I am going to try and make these work. I've looked at so many different aftermarket seats, and every single aftermarket seat, the problem with them is they're too wide and they will not fit in here. Like, it's going to be a humongous pain in the ass to try to get a different seat to fit in here. And I did find that the reason that these seats look different than the other ones that I've seen online is apparently these are like the old style seats, and I guess there are new style seats that they look a little bit different on the bottom. And yeah, I definitely think that would have helped if I would have had those. But so this is my new idea. So what I think I'm going to do is I got these side brackets, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the center section of them out, and I'm going to move this so that it's lined up over here somewhere. Basically, this lines up perfectly with this back edge. So I'm gonna drill holes into there, and then wherever it lines up in here, I'll drill some holes through there. And basically, I want to notch out the bottom of this metal and put it over basically the square tubing, notch it into there, and then I'll weld it onto there. And then I'll probably weld it, at least spot weld it to this floor in a bunch of spots. And then on this back section, I think what I might do, since it's still going to be on the fiberglass, is I might get some flat stock and run it from here to there so it's really thin, and then run bolts down through the whole floor so it'll be braced to here and to the floor, so it should be pretty strong. And then my other thing that I want to mess with is the brakes again. I think I decided that for temporary, what I might do is I'm going to use a hydraulic parking lock, which isn't the most ideal situation. Obviously, it would be better to have an actual parking brake. However, the only way that I've found that's going to work the best, it's going to be pretty expensive. So I think in order to get the car going, I'd like to at least do this and then revisit that later and do something. So I ordered a hydraulic parking lock. It's going to be here tomorrow or something. So my idea is I'm going to cut the line somewhere in here. I haven't really decided how I'm going to do it, and then basically run it up into here, because this is where the parking lever is supposed to be, and then run it up into here somewhere, just kind of out of the way, so that when I do get an actual parking cable, I can technically run both if I need to, and it won't get in the way. But in order to do all of these things, well, especially the seat situation. So the seat, I can get a pretty good idea. Like, this is pretty close to where it needs to be, but I don't really know because I don't have the bodywork on here. And the only way to know is to put the body back on. So that means I'm gonna take all this stuff off the front and I'm gonna put the body back on so that I can figure that out. Okay, body is back on, and God, that's a pain in the ass. But it's on there. It's kind of neat to see it with the engine and suspension and stuff in there now. It's pretty cool. I did notice pretty much right away, I've got the shocks are rubbing a little bit on the body right there. So I have to do something about that. So the biggest problem putting this thing on, like when I took it off, it didn't have the floor in it. Well, it's got that extra ledge. So now it's like even harder to get the rockers around it. So that made it a huge pain in the ass. And then the other problem is it because I put the floor in there, it's a little bit thicker right here. So this part doesn't want to go all the way down, which I could just trim that. It's not a huge deal. I think I might trim like down in here a little bit because it doesn't sit quite flush. I do think I'm gonna have to do some research. There is literally nothing that supports the back of the car, and that just really is strange to me. And I think what I might do, I don't know how exactly I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna go from here, and I'm gonna weld some stuff up, some braces for all of this stuff, like bolt it into the subframe somehow, I think, to support the back of the car, because that just does not seem right. Like, why would you do that? I mean, it's just kind of, I mean, yeah, you could bolt it in a couple places here, but it's still gonna be flimsy in the back. That's weird. Okay, so this is pretty much where I'm gonna have the seat, you know, within a couple millimeters, but this is, as you can see, I mean, I've talked about this before, but this is the reason why I don't think aftermarket seats are gonna work, because the clearances are unbelievably close on this. Like, it is like, yeah, there's no room in there for error. But I marked the floor, so now I'm gonna pull the seat back out, check where I have my marks, and then kind of figure out how I'm gonna do these brackets. Okay, so I know this is a little bit confusing because I got marks all over the place, but basically what I got going on is, this is where the back of the seat is going to sit. This is where the bracket was when I had it sitting in the car, and then I moved it forward 2 inches to find it so it's a good place on the seat to mount it. So this is where it needs to sit, which means I need to cut this section out and then that section out, and then I need to, so I'm gonna weld some bars in here that go to weld into there, just some flat stock, and then I can do all of the rest of that. So then I'm gonna have to drill holes through to run bolts for the seat bottom, and then I think what I might do is I might weld a tab onto the top of here and then run a bolt into this as well, so I have extra structure. So then on here, you can see this is 2 inches in, which is where I was talking about, basically where I want it to mount. So that is going to work out pretty well. So it'll be in just about the right spots where it'll actually, like right up here, there's plenty of room I can actually get through. Right here, no matter what I do, it's pretty much gonna have to go through to the inside of the seat, which is not ideal, but it's pretty much gonna come through in here. And this is where one of the cushions sits anyway, because all of these little recesses have little like cushions that are gonna need to be upholstered. So I can put those through there, and then I'll probably just get some like, you know, some round headed Allen bolts or something to hold it, and that should work. Okay, so I was kind of losing my mind when I was making those other marks. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but they're pretty much ignore the orange marks, with the exception of these. That is actually where the back of the seat's gonna sit, but the green marks are what's relevant now. So basically I've got the brackets approximately sitting where they need to be at this point. You know, obviously I'm gonna have to trim in a different location on these, but now, so I need to do those cross braces, but at the moment I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly where I'm gonna put the seat belt mounts, and that's kind of being an issue right now, because what I've noticed is like that seat, when it's sitting in here, because I have it mounted like as low as I possibly can, and this kit is actually meant to have it like up ridiculously high, like not safe amounts of high. The problem is that this cross brace where the top belts are gonna go, it's not in the right place anymore, because where the seat belts are gonna have to go is like here. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do about that. I may have to weld in a new bar back there, or I don't know, maybe once I get the seat in there it'll make more sense. As far as the side belts, I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do. I know that I can probably mount to that square tubing there and get a bolt coming through and just drill a hole or whatever, and then there's square tubing on this side that I can probably do the same thing, but I don't really know exactly where. So I think first things first, let's just get the seat in. got those welded in there. Hell yeah. Okay, now I need to figure out exactly where that's gonna sit, cut those down to fit over that notched out part. Okay, cut those sections out. It's not clear as that. It's sitting pretty close to where it needs to be. I'm still gonna need to make some sort of bracket. There's a little bit too much space right there, so I'm gonna have to actually slide it under, but that's all right. Yeah, I don't have to drill holes there, whatever. Yeah, moving along. All right, so this is what I got going on right now. It's, looks like it's gonna work. Big fender washers. So the only ones that I'm gonna have a problem with, you can kind of sort of see, if I look down in there, that bolt that's back in there, you can't quite see it, but all the way in the back, this one, you can't reach it because it's all closed off. So what I'm thinking is I might cut a small hole right here in the back, basically just like a little hole right there on both sides, just so I can reach in there with like a wrench or a magnet or something to hold the nut and to put it back in through here, because I can reach the back of the seat no problem when it's bolted down, but I can't, well, one, I can't get my hand in there, and I can't, there's no tools I can really use to get, yeah, anything down in there, and these are gonna have to be bolted in before the seat goes in. So yeah, that's the only way that's gonna work. Okay, holes drilled. Now you can see what I was basically trying to do, so I can put the nut on there and yeah, get it in there. So basically to do it, I just put a piece of tape on the back of that so it holds it. But I still need to get a fender washer in there. So what I decided I'm gonna do is I am going to use hot glue. I'm gonna use a magnet and get it all the way back here, run the bolt through, get it tightened down, and then just let it sit. That way, when I pull it back apart, that washer won't move. Okay, unfortunately, glue gun's not working because by the time I get the fucking thing in there, even after it's hot, it cools down. So I think yeah, here's the new plan. I just cut some slits so I can get a washer in there. I'll just use a magnet and then use that to get that on tight, and I should be able to do it. I mean, if I have to, I can possibly go from the front too. It'll just, oh man, that'll be a huge pain in the ass, but it's possible. All right, let's move on. Let's yeah, get this thing, figure out where it's gonna be mounted to the floor. Holy crap, it's in there. That took way too long. It's not fully bolted down, but it's got a couple bolts that are kind of chilling in there. Holy shit, what a pain in the ass. I cannot believe how many fucking hoops I had to jump through to make that work. But the good news is that now where it's sitting, my head with the helmet, it'll be close. I think it might actually be underneath the roll bar, which is good. That means I won't need to add another hoop. The only issue is that because I'm sitting so low, it is gonna make visibility a little bit difficult, because the hood actually sits up pretty high. But that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is definitely, I cannot believe how difficult it is just to get in and out of this vehicle, and there's not even a steering wheel in it. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna put a quick release in here, and I'm gonna have to have a short hub and everything. It's gonna be really close. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing to really grab onto to get out of the car. So, oh man, in the future, when it's actually driving, yeah, it's gonna look really ridiculous getting out of this car. But I guess that's just kind of how supercars are. I mean, they're not easy to get in and out of. All right, guys, I think that's gonna be it. That was a whole lot of screwing around, for sure, doing that seat. Took way longer than you could possibly imagine to get that thing in there. I mean, it seems like every time I do a seat in any car, it's just kind of how it is. I mean, especially, you know, a kit car, like, you know, like my Exocet took a long time. This one, yeah, it took a long ass time too. So it's not that surprising, but it's nice to know that it's in there, it's figured out, and now I can move on and, you know, do other things. And, you know, now I know what to do on the passenger side. And I did order some side brackets for that. I just got to get some flat stock so I can put that in, but that's going to be on another date. I got a lot of other things that I want to do in the meantime. But, you know, the suspension, oh man, that was, finding those coilovers was so awesome. Now I have like a matching set, and, you know, it's going to be a lot better. And man, I'm so happy about that. That's so awesome. And not to mention that the cheaper coilovers that I had, I was able to, I actually took them off, and I already sold them to somebody, and I already used that money to buy more parts for the K1 Attack. So it was a win-win, guys. It was a win-win. So, like I said, that's going to be it. So stay tuned for the stuff in the future. I got a lot more coming. Tons to do. Like, subscribe, do the things. Peace out.